Greetings, everyone. Zach here for video number 5 in the Alchemy series. In the last video, we discussed yin and yang energy, and in this video, we will be doing an exercise to help us to develop the ability to sense intuitively yin and yang energy. The reason why this is important is because we need to not only have an intellectual construct, a mental framework to be able to understand yin and yang energy, but we need to complement that with an intuitive sense of being able to interpret it and determine and decipher where yin and yang energy is. The last video serves essentially as yang. It is an intellectual construct, and this video will be yin, serving as a way to heighten our receptivity. So between the last one and this one, hopefully we can accomplish a balanced dynamic of understanding of yin and yang energy. The goal is going to be help us to develop not only an innate sense of yin and yang energy, but also allowing us to guide the flow of yin and yang energy. So this is essentially the ground level of Qigong and other energy works as well. We'll dive into that later in some other videos. So, going right into it, we're going to start out by getting in a comfortable position. I'm sitting in half lotus currently. However you want to sit is fine, or if you are standing, that's fine as well. But get comfortable. So, we're going to start out. We're going to be doing 5 short practices, each focused on tuning in to the yin energy and yang energy of the given activity. So, starting out, we're going to focus on our breathing. Breath is the smallest energy cycle of yin and yang in our being. Well, I guess there could maybe be smaller ones on the cellular level and things, but our breath is one of the smallest cycles of yin and yang that is constantly flowing. So it's especially important to tune in to yin and yang in the breath. So first of all, let's just be intuitive and relaxed and just take a couple of deep breaths together. For those not versed in breath work, it might be helpful to review the third video on Zazen practice, where I discuss the breathing technique a little bit. But in short, keep the breathing for this exercise in and out through the nose, and try to extend the diaphragm so your breath goes all the way down into what feels to be the stomach. So, all right, now that we're nice and loose from that, now we're going to implement the awareness of yin and yang. So, the inhale is yang. We're approaching fullness. The exhale is yin, whereas we're reaching emptiness. So, all we're going to do is put focus into that as we're breathing. So, we're going to go ahead and do 7 breaths, focusing on yang and feeling yang reach its peak, and then yin go down to its peak. Try to keep receptive. Use the idea as a framework, but the goal of this is really to just tune into the sensation, the subtle sensations that are very loud when you pay attention. The difference between that peak of yang and that peak of yin. Okay? So, like I said, yang is the inhale, so it's a sense of fullness, and then yin is the exhale, a sense of emptiness. So let's go ahead and do 7 breaths. Okay, good job. Hopefully, you were able to sense a certain feeling of excitement or an invigoration in the fullness in the yang, or at least that's what I perceive. Your sensation of yang and yin may be different, but a certain sense of relaxation and openness, emptiness at the peak of yin. So we're going to go on to the second little mini exercise. On this one, we're going to continue doing the breathing. So what we just did, focusing on the yin and yang of the breath, we're going to continue that, but this time we're going to add our eyes to it, okay? So you could look at the eyes being opened and closed as yin and yang in two different ways, I think, and I want to clear up any potential confusion because we want analysis to be out of this picture. This is meant to be intuitive. We could say that closed is yin and open is yang, which a lot of times is the case. So physically, yin and yang may be reverse to what we're doing in this exercise. But if you think about the way that having the eyes open or closed affects the mind, it's pretty obvious to me that yang is eyes open and yin is eyes closed. When our eyes are open, our brain naturally is picking up sensory stimulus and analyzing and just churning and processing information. When our eyes are yin, we're essentially free and floating. So what we're going to do is exactly the same thing as what we did last time, but this time we're going to open our eyes up in the yang and close our eyes into the yin. And again, try to be receptive to the feeling of what that does. We can even let's even do it 3 times right now without the breathing aligned with it, just to really tune in. So, closing our eyes, feel the openness, the freedom, the emptiness, and then open the eyes and feel the brain invigorate, feel the yang energy flow. Then closing them again, re-entering the state of just receptive clarity, and then opening them and feeling that charge, feeling everything kick into action. Yes, one more time. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do 7 breaths again, and this time just simply open and close your eyes with the turn of each cycle. So, all right. Starting out with our eyes open and an inhale. Okay, good job. Hopefully you could feel how there's a similar sensation that is parallel between having the eyes open and the inhale reaching its peak, as well as the eyes being closed and the exhale reaching its peak, and that is yin and yang energy. We're also, let me see here, we're going to go on to the third one now. And we're going to, this time, add muscle movement. And I think we're going to focus on just the hands. So let's go ahead and whichever way is comfortable for you. I think tightening the whole fist is a little bit too much energy flow, kind of closes our circuit a little bit. So why don't we just touch a couple of fingers together, whichever you are comfortable with is fine. But I'm going to go ahead and do these two. And we're going to focus on the difference between the feeling of relaxing our hands, which is yin, and then tightening the muscles as being yang. So let's go ahead and just do that 3 times by itself. So relax them, feel the openness, the freedom, the potential for movement, and then tighten those muscles. And feel the yang, the sturdiness, the firmness. Now relax them. And then tighten. Relax. And then tighten. Okay. Now, that's simple enough. We're going to do the breath exercise again, and the eyes opening and closing again, and this time we're going to add the muscle movement in our fingers. So exactly what I was just doing here, we're going to add that on to what we just did. So again, we will do 7 counts in total. So go ahead and we're going to start with yang. We're going to start with the inhale with our eyes open and our fingers tightened. So go ahead and clasp your fingers together and begin your inhale, and then we'll keep going from there. Oh, shoot, I forgot to close my eyes on that one. Okay, sorry about that. All right, I'm pretty sure that was 7. I kind of got in the zone and lost count, but if it wasn't, you can do 7 or do less. The numerology is really not too important, and apologies for that initial mess up. I am not the master. I am a student still myself. Hopefully, though, that you were able to feel how all 3 of those sensations aligned. The yang being the inhale, the open eye, and the finger clench, and the yin being the exhale, the closed eyes, and the relaxation of the muscles. Okay, so we're going to change it a little bit here, going on to the 4th. We're going to continue doing the breath, but we're not going to do the eyes, and we're not going to do the fingers anymore. In fact, we're going to have our eyes closed through the duration of all 7 breaths for this one. What we're going to be doing is a visualization, and the visualization is going to be between night and day, which are yin and yang, or yang and yin. Day being yang, fullness, activity, invigoration, doing, right? And then night being yin, openness, silence, freedom, mystery, okay? So what we're going to do is when we're inhaling, we're going to focus on a visualization of noon, which is the peak of yang. So we're going to focus on the brightness of noon, the shining sun, the whatever imagery comes to your mind that really represents day, whether it's chirping birds or running in the park or whatever. it doesn't really matter, but just activity, what yang in the day represents to you. Bring that image to mind. For me, it's going to be the bright, shining sun of noon and just the activity of nature. And then when we go into yin, we're going to let this image of daytime fade into a visualization of nighttime and allow midnight to come over us. Okay? So let's go ahead and start this. So 7, again, will be the number, as long as I can keep my count this time. So here we go. And like I said, keep your eyes closed this whole time, just to keep your keep your visualization at its maximum potential. So we will go ahead and begin with the exhale on night, I guess, right? Yeah, let's do that. So go ahead and exhale right now. Clear your breath and let it become midnight. Okay, and inhale now for 7 breaths. Okay, good job. What this also did that I think is of importance to note is allow us to focus on yin and yang energy in the mind in particular, because the yin and yang primordial energy exists in all these different aspects. The breath, the physical, being the muscles and the eyes, as well as the mind. So I hope that visualization was beneficial for everyone in being able to tune in to one representation of yin and yang energy in the mind. And the last one that we're going to do, the last unique exercise, is going to involve continuing the breathing and also continuing our visualization. But this time we're going to extend the yin and yang energy into the emotional level of being. So, can do exactly as we did last time with night and day, but this time we're going to add an emotional charge, okay? So when we go into yang, when you feel that sun overhead, bring about that emotion of excitement, of you're going to go out and do stuff today, that enlivening excitement. Excitement is a baseline term, I think, but whatever emotion comes to mind is fine. But just let that emotional excitement charge climb up to its peak. And then as we release that energy and as we go into the night, allow the feeling, that excitement to fade down into an emotional silence. Okay? And something else, I think, that is... Well, no, we'll get to that at the end. I don't want to rush and make this... I don't want it to be too conceptual. We're trying to keep this intuitive. So, okay. Let's go ahead and we'll do just 2 breaths of the visualization and the emotion right now, and I'll just have my eyes open, so just that we can align those two. So here we go. The sunny, bright day, excitement, love living life and doing things. Fading down, the silence and mystery of the night. Coming back up to the bright sun, the silence and clarity of night. So, here we go. We're going to do 7 breaths with the breathing focus of Yin and Yang, the visualization focus of Yin and Yang, and the emotional focus of Yin and Yang. So, here we go. And we will start with the inhale, I guess. Inhaling into the noon sun and emotional enthusiasm. Here we go. Good job, everyone. That is the entirety of the 5 sets of yin and yang variables that we're going to explore. But there's a little bit more to do. And this is the advanced level yin and yang receptivity exercise. So what we're going to do, you can see that we combined the breathing with 2 sets of 2. So there's 5 in total. The breathing, the eyes, the muscles, the visualization, and the emotion. I intentionally kept them separate so that we wouldn't be overwhelmed and have to analyze too much about, oh, am I doing my fingers right? Am I visualizing right? But hopefully now we're trained enough to give it a try with all 5 of them together. So we're going to align our breathing, our eye opening and closing, our muscle tension, our visualization of the day and night, and our emotional charge of excitement and silence all together. And we will do this for 7 breaths. So here we go. And I will start with the inhale, with my eyes open, with my noonday sun, with my excitement, and with my muscles clenched. So here we go. Okay, everybody. Good job. That one was a little bit trickier for me this time, mainly with the visualization. I did it earlier before I made this video and had no problem, but it's a little bit tricky this time, so don't be too discouraged if it's a little bit tricky to combine all those for you as well. So that covers the entirety of this exercise. I just wanted to make one more note about yin and yang energy. And I held this is what I was going to say a couple exercises ago, but I held off because this makes it, again, a little bit intellectual and conceptual. But now that we're done with the receptivity exercise, I'll go ahead and mention this. You may have noticed that in between the yin and yang, there is a point of undifferentiated energy. And in Taoist alchemy, in the Taoist practice, there's a term for this, and I don't want to get it wrong, and I lent my books out to someone. I believe it's the middle pass. The middle path. I know there's a middle way in Taoism, but that's different, I think. But anyhow, there's a term for this undifferentiated energy, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do one little mini exercise unrelated to the rest to help us to really sense this undifferentiated middle energy between yin and yang, because there's a lot of power in understanding this. And again, I didn't want to overwhelm you guys talking about it before, because then you're trying to calculate where it's at and everything. But I feel intuitively that everyone did a pretty good job with this exercise, so I think now it's time to expose everyone to this idea. So, right in the last video, when we talked about the yin and yang cycles, where I drew the diagram, we can see that at the peak of yin is where yang is born, and at the peak of yang, yin is born. Okay? So just like in the symbol, which I can go ahead and show you guys just as a reminder. Here is yang, and when yang reaches its peak is when yin is born. That's what the dot is all about, and also where the little small point of the tail. Then from yin's rise, yang is born. Okay, so they cycle off of each other, and I went over that in the last video, so I think you guys get that already. But what I would like to emphasize is that the point right in between the two, right when yin reaches its peak, and right at the point that yang reaches its peak, is undifferentiated energy. It's the point that the whole yin-yang symbol that essentially encompasses that larger dimension of energy flow representing the oneness, the dynamic interplay of the polarities. That's when that comes into view. So why don't we go ahead and do a really short visualization exercise. We'll just do 3 breaths on this one because it's kind of a whole nother topic. And you guys can go ahead and explore it as you see fit after this. But what we're going to do is we're going to do our breathing again. And as we approach yang, the inhale, we're going to picture the yin-yang. We're going to picture the white part climbing up and reaching its peak on the inhale. And right at that peak, we're going to allow the whole image of the yin-yang to come into view. And then from that, just for a moment, just a little flash of the whole yin-yang, right before the exhale begins. And then we're going to focus on the black, reaching to its peak. And then right at the peak of that yin, we're going to allow the whole image to blossom. And then go back into the yang. Okay? But this same energetic principle is inherent in all aspects of yin and yang. There is this undifferentiated middle path of energy right in between them. And sorry if this is a little bit confusing, because like I said, this is kind of a different topic, but this is a perfect point to bridge into it, so I don't want to miss that opportunity and have to do this in another video. So let's go ahead and do 3 breaths focusing on this. So inhaling, the white of the yin reaching its peak, the yin-yang, then the yin going down. And again, the entirety. Okay, good job, everyone. Uh, the final note I'll make before I end this, and wow, this video is much longer than the other ones. Hopefully, it was not too slow or unexciting for you all. One final note I'm going to make is about this middle path of energy, the middle way that I just described. If you decide to do this exercise more on your own time, any of these or a combination of them, I encourage you to, as you become more adept, more tuned in to the exercise, try to find that middle way of energy. Because it's very valuable to sense not only yin and yang, but undifferentiated energy of oneness. And in any of these exercises, you can find that, with the tightening of the fingers, you reach a peak of tightness, and then let it go into a peak of relaxation. And right at that point in between the two, there's this raw, undifferentiated energy. And the breath, I think, is a really good one to tune into because it's such a natural cycle. It's just like a clock, a yin and yang clock that just keeps flowing all the time. And right before that inhale begins, right when the seed of yang begins, when yin is at its peak and the seed of yang is planted, there is something different, something that is beyond yin and beyond yang. And that's a powerful alchemical tool. Thank you all for joining me in this, and I will have another video pretty soon. Blessings.